In the year 1909, two locomotives were built in a workshop in Glasgow. Constructed to the 652 class designed by John Mackintosh of the Caledonian Railway, they were the last two 652s to be built and were numbered 662 and 663. While slower than many contemporary locomotives, the 652s served as heavy freight engines for the Caledonian Railway. They did this job well, serving Glasgow and the surrounding regions for most of their operating lives. Life for 662 and 663 was quiet for the first few decades. They stayed put near Glasgow during World War I, moving munitions and other products of war to Port Glasgow and Edinburgh. Notably, 663 was in Edinburgh when Zeppelins attacked the city in April of 1916. After the war, the Caledonian Railway would be folded into the London, Midland and Scottish Railway. 662 and 663 were renumbered 17646 and 17647, respectively, and continued their quiet lives shuffling around Scotland. 17646 would be put in charge of some passenger work, while 17647 would be put in charge of industrial supply trains coming from Darnley and Barrhead quarries during their decline in the 1930s. After this, 17647 would become surplus, only serving sparsely in the late 1930s. When World War II started, 17647 was commandeered for the war effort, moving sensitive materials to Port Glasgow, and would witness quite a few bombing raids, including the March 1941 Clydebank Blitz. 17647 was nicknamed the Night Hound during the war, as he often moved slowly at night with his precious loads. Meanwhile, 17646 was put in charge of the coal trains from a multitude of mines that dotted the greater Glasgow area. In 1944, 17647 was put into work for Provane Gasworks. Since they were both concentrated in the northeast of Glasgow, 17646 and 17647 remained in close contact, especially when 17646 was put in charge of all the coal services going from Provane Colliery to Provane Gasworks in 1945. When the war ended, 17647 remained in charge of Provane Gasworks, while 17646 returned to normal duties. Once again, they received a number change in 1948 when British Railways was formed, to 57646 and 57647 respectively. For 10 years, the two served in their roles as other engines were replaced around them. The 652s were some of the last steam engines to be withdrawn in Scotland, and were almost 60 years old at the time. The Provane Gasworks was dieselized in 1958, and 57647 was withdrawn and put into storage. 57646, meanwhile, was loaned to Dunteland Quarry as it supplied materials for the Hutchison Town redevelopment. A diesel was slated to replace 57646 by the autumn of 1959, so he was sold to the Northwestern Railway. Seeing the writing on the wall for 57647, the two engines devised a scheme to get both of them safely to Sodor. On the night of October 3rd, 57646 brought his last quarry train to Glasgow's main yard. Then he doubled back to the engine shed and picked up 57647, who had been stored in the back of the shed. They painted over their numbers and made their dash for Sodor. Since they had no numbers anymore, the two renamed themselves. 57646 became Donald and 57647 became Douglas.